Hello, welcome to Go Ballistic, the Scottish Sun's weekly look back at the Scottish football. I was going to say Premiership football. It really was a weekend dominated by the Premier Sport Cup final. We've got Kris Boyd with us today. Boyd, we'll get to the controversy in a minute. But first of all, it was one of the great finals, wasn't it?
It was. To be fair, Roger, I thought it was a slow start, wasn't it? But I mean, once it got going, it was especially that second half. It was end to end. A really good advert for Scottish football on the pitch. I thought that there was sometimes it lacked some quality, but when you take into consideration, Celtic had been to Zagreb during the week and travelled back, and Rangers had played on Thursday night as well. You could understand why there was a few tired legs out there, but I still felt it was a good enough final. And I think that we'll touch on, as you said there, the referees or the VAR, decision not to go and look at the monitor as a key impact in the game. But I mean, talking about the football first, I thought it was two teams that could probably defend it better, but you've got to say the attacking threat from both was there to be seen.
I never remember a final, Boyd, where one team substituted three of their back four and the other team substituted two of their back four. Defences certainly well on top. For the viewers who had a weekend on the moon, it finished Celtic 3, Rangers 3. Celtic won 5-4 in penalty kicks. If it had gone on any later, we might have been too late to get a newspaper out last night, Boyd. A thrill a minute, but Philippe Clement's immediate words in the aftermath revolved around a major controversy. Liam Scales pulling Václav Černy's shirt on the edge of the box. Referee John Beaton, who was, I think, partially unsighted, gave it as a free kick to Rangers. I think at that stage the expectation was that the VAR official Alan Muir would direct John Beaton and say the foul was on the line, which constituted the penalty. There was no intervention and there was no penalty kick. What was your take on it?
Well, I think, having listened to a lot of people over the last few days, and everybody's talking about the position his foot's in the box, that's irrelevant because Scales doesn't touch him around the feet area. It's the tugging of the shirt. Then everybody can see. Even ones that wear green tinted glasses can see that the pull is inside the box.
Your old six-a-side pal Neil Lennon was in Premier Sports last night saying just that same thing, agreeing with Alan Hutton, the first time for everything.
So as I said, it goes in the box and the penalty should be given. It doesn't matter when you start pulling the shirt, it's when you let go and the ball and the player is in the box when the Celtic player lets go of the shirt. That is a penalty kick. There is no getting away from it. Listen, people can have a go at John Beaton. I thought he refereed the game, really well yesterday. There was a few yellow cards, but I thought he refereed the game really well. And he from where he was, he felt as if it was a foul, and brought it back for the initial contact. The issue here is that VAR has let John Beaton down. There's no getting away from it. I mean, Alan Muir is the VAR. Frank Connor is the assistant VAR. What were they doing? I mean, seriously, what were they doing? You go back to the old days, and listen, there's decisions that both teams could feel aggrieved with over the years. But there's really no excuse anymore, Roger. Really no excuse, plain and simply because you've got the video there, you can look at it, and if one person misses it in the VAR room, the other person should see it. So there is no reason for them to miss this. People might look at the on-field referee John Beaton and criticise him. This has got absolutely nothing to do with John Beaton. And by the way, even more so, Roger, people are saying call him over to the monitor to have a look. He doesn't even need to be called over to the monitor to have a look. It's clear. It's a clear penalty kick. All you need to turn around, all the VAR needs to turn around, Alan Muir and VAR, or Frank Connor, if he's assisting him, all they need to turn around and say, it's black and white. They can turn around and say, it's a penalty kick. We're overruling that. It's a penalty kick. The shirt tug, is the pull of the shirt finishes inside the box.
I've been quite impressed with the SFA this season since Willie Collum took charge of the rest, Boyd. And so much as, I've always complained the lack of openness and transparency. No complaints in that score this season. I think the KMI panel, their verdicts that come out every Friday is terrific. I think Willie Collum's show that he does with Gordon Duncan, they're not quite ant and deck, but it is quite, informative. And I think Willie's been quite open and honest with everyone. What will the SFA be thinking today when they look at it, Boydie?
Roger, I totally agree with everything you said there. I think since, and people were criticising Willie Collum or criticising the appointment, I felt as if it was the right appointment at this time. He gets it, he understands Scottish football. Again, you look at, as you said, the transparency. When you're in this position, it's difficult to appoint referees and the way that the fixtures have felt, and you've got people in Europe and stuff like that, and it's difficult to appoint referees. I think that, for me, if I am Patrick Stewart, Fraser Thornton, who started Rangers or started Ibrox today, the first thing I'm doing is demanding a meeting with the SFA, with Willie Collum, because I think Willie has already been out there and he has been transparent, and I would want to get to the bottom of it. And Ian Maxwell as well at the SFA. Listen, I know this is a League Cup, it's a league competition, but it's the SFA that provide the match officials. And I would want to get to the bottom of why the VAR didn't intervene, because it's no good enough. You go back a few months ago, and it was a laugh and a joke, and everybody was going on about Rangers getting penalty kicks, and Michael Nicholson at the Celtic, by the way, at the Celtic AGM, stood up and was asked about missing key decisions, key VAR decisions. What would the club do going forward? Oh, there was a penalty to Rangers. Those days have kind of turned. Peter Lawwell, the last penalty kick that Rangers were given against them with a handball, it was John Greggett gave it away. They've put the pressure on Celtic. They've asked the questions. And it doesn't really, it'll be interesting to see if there's anything said from that this morning of, they got away with one there, because if it's me, and I'm Rangers fans will be sitting here this morning. Patrick Stewart, go and ask the question. Sit down. Let's find out what's going on here, because it's happening too often now. It's happening far too often. Get to the bottom of why that penalty kick wasn't given.
Philip Clement clearly furious after the game. I'm told Rangers directors equally unhappy. Will there be internal pressure today on Patrick Stewart and Fraser Thornton to push for something? Will they seek clarification? What? Used to be the old expression.
Yeah, well, that's their job, isn't it? I mean, that's their job going forward. They're going to have to lead Rangers Football Club, and as I said, there's the time is now to be asking questions. There's no getting away from it. As I said, it happened a few years ago when clearly offside. Nothing was given then. There was no VAR then, no was there? So you've not got that excuse. This, as I said, John Beaton has missed it on the field, which I can totally understand. But for two to miss it in a computer, it's no good enough. It is not good enough. And I just get the feel. I mean, I know it's changed in terms of the two full time. We had two, and Andrew Dallas and Greg Aiken. There is more full time referee, but I just wonder if for cup finals especially, should we have our most experienced VAR referees on these games? I think we should. And as I said, if I'm Rangers, I am wanting to get to the bottom of this. So whenever Celtic do it, there's an inquest and everything. It's got to be, we've got to get to the bottom of this. Whenever Rangers seem to be questioning something, it's a laugh and a joke and everything, it gets brushed under the carpet and there's nothing said. If I'm Rangers, it's time to stand up. It's time to stand up and ask questions, because you need to get to the bottom of this.
In terms of the football, Boydie, a terrific ding-dong encounter. Nadine Bajrami had Rangers ahead at half-time. 2 quick-fire goals, Greg Taylor and Dyson Maida. It was then 2-2 with Mo Diomande. 3-2 Celtic with Nicholas Kuhn. 3-3 when Danilo put his header in. It goes all the way to penalties. Celtic win. Kasper Schmeichel saves from Ridvan Yilmaz. Celtic always seem to find a way to grind it out. They win, even when they don't play well.
Yeah, I think when you look back at the way these games have panned out recently, I mean, whenever you feel as if Rangers have had a chance to stick one in Celtic's noses, they seem to back off. At 1-0, I still think, I know we're speaking about a penalty kick there, and you can speak about the way the game transpires towards the end, but you kind of look back in the 90 minutes. The 4-on-1 for me, Roger, was a turning point in the game. I think when you break away, unbelievable defending for Carter Vickers. He's the one there, but Rangers have to score. There's no getting away from it. They have to score on that counter-attack. And that would have been it, because I said, because of maybe the way that both teams had been during the week, it'd have been very difficult to come back for that because of the minutes that was in the legs during the Champions League game. And Rangers, if they went 2-0 up, it's all ifs and buts. That was the turning point for me, because I think Celtic then started to get left. There was no doubt they were really, really sloppy and sluggish in the first half, and the second half they came out and they did look like a total different team, and were able to cause Rangers some problems. Get a deflected goal through Greg Taylor. Dyson Maeda, as he always does in this fixture, seems to pop up and does something. Once he gets in the clear, there's absolutely no way you're catching him. But then Rangers come back and get an equaliser, and you think, well, what's next? Rangers, Celtic then take the lead again, and then Rangers come back. Good header from Danilo, Nicholas Kuhn with that third goal for Celtic. And then I thought at the extra time it was two teams that were cagey, rather than want to win it. So it was. But again, you look at that decision, the penalty kick. It would have been. You never know what would have happened then. But once it goes to penalty kicks, I know people will say it's a lottery, but it's not a lottery. You've got to be. You've got to hope your goalkeeper stands up and tall and does what he does and makes saves. Kasper Schmeichel was able to do that. And you look at the other side of it, you want to get, penalty kick takers. You want to get players that are confident at taking penalties. And I've got to be honest, Roger, I didn't. That way when you look at Yilmaz walking up, you kind of knew. You had that feeling. I was like, this is going to be the one that's missed. And maybe, listen, I know Philip Clement came out after the game and said that they're practicing their penalties, but I mean, I'm never, you can practice penalties all you want. I just always think that, in games, your strikers are the ones who, that they've got that. That's why they're strikers. They know how to, finish in these situations. I would have been wanting more of my forward players to go and hit penalties. As I said, you can practice them all day long. It's different when it comes to the thing. But one thing I will say is, I know a lot of people have been criticising, Jack Butland taking a penalty. I'm surprised that there's not more goalkeepers take penalty kicks, to be honest, Roger, because there's one thing, they're very, very, you could argue they're the best strikers of the ball at the football clubs. They're very clean strikers, or striker of the ball. So, I'm surprised that, we don't see more goalkeepers hitting, penalty kicks when it comes to that stage. I get it's alien to a lot of people, but, when it's repetitive training every single day from that type of area, that's what they're good at, striking through the ball. And, they're usually 9 times out of 10 clean strikers of the ball. So, I've absolutely no issue with, goalkeepers taking penalties. What I have is I would want my forward players to be at least stepping forward and hit them as well, though.
He's surprised in the first half. Bill Leckie made a big point of this in his cup final verdict today.
We're not agreeing with Leckie on anything.
Should Dessers have been up there? You're talking about strikers. Danilo came, Danilo took his penalty, scored his penalty. Should Dessers have been in that first 5? I know Philip Clement says he was going to be next in line had it gone to sudden death. Should he have been ahead of Ridvan Yilmaz and Jack Butland?
But as I said there, I've no. People might be saying, you're losing your mind saying that goalkeepers should be hitting penalties, but I think anybody within the, has been involved in football and trained with, with goalkeeper, they will all agree with what I'm saying. They are very, very clean strikers of the ball. I have no issue with them hitting penalties, but for me, when I look at your strikers, and Cyril Dessers has hit penalties before. For me, he's got to be the one to step up there and hit it. But look, Philip Clement obviously spoke after the game and said that they'd been practicing them, and Yilmaz was a clean striker and has done well over a period of time. But for me, I'm just that instinct in front of goal, and want to score another. I know it doesn't go down as your record, but want to put the ball in the back of the net would be enough for me just to step forward. Listen, I get it. Cyril Dessers is low, really, really low in confidence right now, but even little things like this is the things that can turn for you, and you can turn and then start scoring goals.
You're going to have to wait now 2.5 weeks for another Old Firm game, Ibrox in January the 2nd. Who takes more out of yesterday? The Rangers take a bit of encouragement because it's an improved performance, or the Celtic take encouragement because they've won it again? They've won the game again. They've taking the only trophy the Rangers had last season and taking it back off them. And it's now 6 derbies without a win for Philippe Clement.
Roger, I've listened to a few of my mates, and all I've heard over the last period, the last 3 or 4 weeks, where Rangers have improved. They have improved, but it could only get better because it was that bad before. The 3 league games, Ross County, St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Rangers should be winning those games. They should be. You look at then the Nice performance, which I thought was very good, very good. Tottenham Hotspur was very good, but drew the game. You then go to the cup final yesterday, and I thought Rangers, they were good in patches, but you have lost 3 goals. They were good in patches, as I said. You've scored 3, you've lost 3. Celtic weren't at their best, but at the end of the day, you go into a cup final, there's only one thing matters: leaving that stadium with that cup. And listen, I get it. And as I said, a lot of my mates have been on this morning and last night. It was better and everything. If that's what you want, and that's what you're accepting now is it's better, then I think Rangers have got a lot more problems than what I thought. Because for me, the era I was brought up and the team I played with, you wanted to win, you wanted to be a team they're leaving. And I'm not saying the Rangers players didn't want to win. Yes, obviously they wanted to win. But because you put on a decent performance, doesn't mean say it's acceptable losing. I think that there's the last few weeks have been better. There's no getting away from that. But the reality is, Brendan Rodgers leaves Hampden with another trophy. He leaves Hampden having beaten Philippe Clement again, and he's a happier manager.
Now, regular viewers in this show, boy, do they know how much talent comes out of Ayrshire? To Bolton, Girvan, places like that. But we'll have to have a word for Prestwick's James Forrest, who's now matched Saltcoat's Bobby Lennox. 25 winners' medals for Celtic. It's a magnificent achievement.
That's unbelievable. And I think it would, we'll probably be sitting here in 6 months' time saying he's surpassed them because Celtic are well, in control of the league, and then that's another thing. I'll come back to James in a minute, but that's another thing when you look at it as well. The cup final was a distraction for Rangers. It's back to reality now. You're 11 points behind. You're 11 points behind Celtic in the league. You're 2 points behind Aberdeen, by the way. They haven't won a game in 5, and you're still behind them. We're in the middle of December. Cup final was a distraction, was able to take you off it. It's totally different now. It's you need yourself focus back on the league and start winning games and start to claw back into Aberdeen and Celtic. But I think James Forrest deserves enormous credit. He's one of those ones that it's funny though, Roger, because I don't think he's ever really. There was a period where James Forrest was absolutely flying, and a lot of Celtic fans appreciated him for what he done then. But I don't think he's ever been one that has fully, that like everybody connected to Celtic is appreciated. Everything that he's done. But when you actually sit back and what he's won and he's contributed, even last season. Last season, when you think about it, it was low and it was a difficult period for Celtic. So to come back then as well, it was a big part of the season, and to go and put on the performances that he done then deserves enormous credit. But I mean, you can look back once his career's finished and what he's won. But as you say, I don't think it belongs to passes Bobby Lennox, and you've got to say, I mean, what an achievement that is. Unbelievable to go and win what he's won for Celtic. And we've got to be honest, the amount of times he's been written off and keeps coming back, deserves enormous credit.
And a new contract as well the other week is going to be about at least until the summer of 2026.
Wow, it's incredible. It just seems to have been about for absolute ages, doesn't it?
I know,
it's incredible.
And he still looks young.
He does, Unlike us. Unlike
Boyd,
us.
That is brilliant. Thank you very much. I know you've had a difficult 24 hours. Celtic flattened you yesterday, and then you had a puncture this morning. I'll let you go and fix that big boat of yours.
No good, friend. No good.
Take care.
Cheers.